Hello student, welcome to you a constitutional law class. Our subject is constitutional law. This subject is mainly consisting of subject Constitution of India and the several interpretation of the Constitution, articles and case laws, whatever cases decided by the Supreme Courts and the High Courts on the constitutional matter, and also the references sources of our constitution in comparative analysis with the other constitution also. So this is the whole concept and these course consisting of all of these issues. So as you see from the uh, name of the subject constitutional law, it is not dealing with the constitution only, it is dealing with the constitutional law, means all the laws. What is the origin of this constitution, what is the knowing the particular object, the particular article consisting of the constitution, and compare. As being the Indian, we must know the constitution of India, but we have to also interpret it, analyze it with the light of the other constitutions, other countries constitution, old constitution, various types of constitutions, and to know the sources of our constitution, and time to time different cases which has been interpreted by the courts, our higher judiciary, the meaning of the particular articles and particular concept. So gradually we will discuss all of these things in this course. If you come to our constitution, if you see the constitution of India that came into force, we all know that 26 January 1950, which is known as our Republic Day. India became republic on particular date. So that's why we became republic. So Republic of India came into on particular date when Constitution came into force. That is the 26th January 1950. But before that, we know Constitution was completed. Our Constitution already enforced. That is the 26th November 1949. So if you see that this process of the making of the constitution, it was a very Herculean task. So in this class, we have to also discuss the what was the process to make this constitution, particularly in Indian perspective. When India got the independence in 1947, previously, on the basis of cabinet mission plan, there was the Constituent Assembly, which got the statutory sanctity after the passing of the Independence of India Act 1947. Afterwards, this Constituent Assembly was formed and it got the legislative structure, and ultimately this Constituent Assembly was the highest body whose duty was just to make the constitution for the India newly constituted body, newly independent country constitution, and that is the Indian constitution. So this committee, this Constituent Assembly, make one sub committee, one committee, that is a drafting committee. That drafting committee main job was just to make the constitution and produce before the Constituent Assembly. This drafting committee was headed by the chairman B.R. Ambedkar, who was the chairman of the drafting committee, and who was the advisor of the Constituent Assembly, constitution advisor was Dr. B.N. Rao. B.N. Rao drafted the constitution, main constitution, which was presented before the drafting committee. Drafting committee made so many changes. Drafting committee mainly drafted the constitution article wise, and it also given the so many analysis footnotes in this draft constitution, and it was presented before the Constituent Assembly, which was the Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the chairman of this Constituent Assembly, and every article wise discussion debate was there, and that is the Constituent Debate Assembly. Constituent Debate Assembly was a debate over the draft constitution and the framing of the constitution. So all of these are a subject, and before the making of our constitution, another prime source was the Government of India Act 1935. This is the also the we have to study about these sources. We have to know the origin of our constitution and how this drafting committee they have adapted the principle from the various other foreign constitution of the several countries. Now, if we see that our constitution, before the making of the Indian constitution, there are so many constitutions already framed, already constituted. So, maximum sources of this constitution from the that is also known as a bag of borrowings. Our constitution of India, if you see the maximum provisions, those were the established principles or the political thoughts, political philosophy which were prevailing on the various countries. And before getting the independence, our country was the British colonial country of the British regime. So mainly our constitution was very much influenced by this Anglo-Saxon jurisprudence, and later our constitution collected so many sources from the US constitution to Canadian constitution and Irish constitution, other constitution. And if you see time to time when we study in detail, we'll get those provisions in our constitution, the reference of those provisions, everything in detail. Next, what is this job of the constitution? Why constitutions are being framed? What is the role of the constitution? Constitution is, constitution is the basic law. It is the fundamental law of the country. Every country is being governed by its own constitution. Whatever your legal system is, your legal system is mainly dependent on the constitution. This is the basic law. This is the law of the land. So that's why constitution, one of the major duty of the constitution is just to distribute the powers between the three organs of the country. Every country or every state, they have the three pillars of their functioning. One is the legislature, second is the executive, and third is the judiciary. In India also, India has the legislative structure, India has the executives also, India has the judiciary also. So if in this way, if you see constitution basically demark any written constitution, when constitution is written in the form of written constitution, then in the written constitution, you will find that all the powers of these legislative authority or executive authority or the judicial authority have been very much particularly their power, their function, their limitation have been fixed and it is written in the constitution. So that's why written constitution is also known as the limited government, because government is not arbitrary, government is not reckless, it is also limited by their four walls of the constitution. So that's why it is known as a limited government. And all of this thing, original this concept of the separation of power came during the Montesquieu during the period of the beginning of the French Revolution, and Montesquieu was the propounder of this separation of power. Now every state should have the three organs, and they should be separated from each other. But what are their functions? How much they can work? What is the limitation? What is their power? All of these mm, is very much demarcated in this written constitution. So written constitution is one of the important factor for the limited government. And constitution also do this thing. This is the one of the important part of the US Constitution. US Constitution, which was originally made 1789, that was means 1974 first time Philadelphia Convention, and then gradually it got the power in 1789 it came into force. And why US Constitution is coming? Because US Constitution is the only constitution, oldest constitution in the world, and not only that, it is the first written constitution. So this constitution is very much federal constitution also. Federal constitution we will discuss later also. Federal constitution means where the two sets of governments are there, their powers are divided among the states, and in two sets of government means one is the union government, another is the state government or any territorial government. So if these powers are limited between them and they have their own distribution of the power in the legislative, executive, and judicial level, then automatically this such type of government is known as the federal government. The Indian constitution is very much similar to the federal government also, federal form of government, though it's not a purely federal constitution. So one of the unique features of the federal constitution we can get, or one of the main, uh, you may say, Bible of the federal constitution is the US Constitution. So without knowing the US Constitution a little bit, without knowing the structure of US Constitution, it is very difficult to know the federal constitution. And we'll also discuss how Indian Constitution is similar to the federal constitution and how far it is similar to the unitary constitution and what are the features of the Indian Constitution. So knowing the Indian Constitution, to know Indian Constitution better, we have to know something about the US Constitution and their federal structure also. We see our sources, as we have already discussed, that knowing of the Constitution is not enough. This is the Constitution of India. We are not studying Constitution of India. Our subject is constitutional law. So here we have to discuss the constitutional law of India. Whenever this law word is coming, that means not only the going through the statutory provision, we have to know the why this statute came into force, what is the origin of this particular article or particular section or particular provision, and what is the source of those things, how it came into existence, and later if any case has been instituted, or if any case laws are there, any case law is there, we have to interpret those case laws also in the light of the particular article. So mere studying of the articles or the mere studying of the statutes are not enough to know the constitution. We have to know the various sources. So if you see, we will see, when we will study in detail, we will understand that sources of various sources of Indian Constitution also. Indian Constitution is very much, means, till date, it has just completed 70 years or 80 years. So till you can say it's a very much young constitution in that sense compared to the French constitution, the British constitution, or US constitution, Irish constitution, Australian constitution, and Canadian constitution. All of these are the very major and very big countries, vast countries, very much democratic countries. Their constitution, how their constitution inspired the Indian constitution, and how Indian constitution got their sources from those constitutions. So this is another important topic of this our discussion. So everywhere we have to discuss the sources of particular provision, particular political thoughts, particular political philosophy, and everything of the legal background. These all of these are subject. Then I must say this is just a beginning. What we will study actually, so that we have to understand what our subject is all about. I welcome all of you in the constitutional law class in detail, and we'll see you next in the class when we'll start our constitution law study. We'll start our study from the knowing the various legal systems, how laws are coming in force, what is law, what are various types of law, kinds of law, and role of the constitution in this legal system, and how Indian constitution is effective in our present socio-economic background. We have to know that Indian Constitution is not only the political document or not only legal document, it is also known as a social document. Without knowing the sociology of the law, or without knowing the Indian society, we will not able to understand what is Indian Constitution. So in that sense, we must be very much aware, we have to aware very much about the Indian geopolitical as well as socio-economic structure, then we will be able to understand that what is Indian constitutional law. We say this our other constitutional law of the other countries. I hope you have got the idea what is our subject material, what we have to study in depth, and that one thing I want to say, that constitution is the Bible for the legal studies, the lawyers, and Supreme Court and the High Courts are the lawyers' paradise, which are known as the Constitutional Court. Without knowing the Constitution, no one can do excel in the law, and no one can become the good lawyer in the professional field. The Constitution is the Bible to each and every one. So you must be aware about the Constitution. Being the law student, you must be champion of the Constitution. You must have a sound command over the Constitution, and you must be aware of each and every facet of the Constitution. See you next. Thank you and hope for our greater meeting.